ancient Ayurvedic and yoga systems.
Welcome to the Daily B Show, episode 112. With Wayne Celeban, we're going to be speaking about understanding imbalance using ancient Ayurvedic and yogic systems, among many, many other things. But first, I just want to thank our sponsors who are bringing the Daily B Show to us today. Audible to start with. Audible are amazing. Jump in through the links in the bio or the descriptions and check out Audible if you haven't already. It's probably the main source of information that I go to read all my books, get information when I'm driving the car, going for a walk along the beach, doing my stuff, cleaning the house. Audible is there with me. And also, it's great support for us if you go through my link and go check out Audible if you haven't already got yourself an account to get through to your Audible books there. Check out Amazon as well for all your podcasting equipment. Basically, anything you want to buy, Amazon have just come to Australia as well. So go through the link there and support the Daily B Show through the Amazon link. If you're going to do anything through Amazon, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you're looking to jump into your next luxury holiday or even start a retreat or run your own retreat, there's a beautiful couple of places here on the Sunshine Coast up in Budrum, Aquila Retreat and Malumba Estate. Check them out, use the Daily B promo code, and they will definitely look after you. Other than that, thank you for joining us. Also, you can check us out help us out at the Trim Tab Transformation Foundation, where we're raising money at the moment to build orphanages over in Uganda and essentially across the world with a bigger picture of eradicating child homelessness by 2030, which is a part of the global goals. So most appreciate any support that comes along with that as well. But Wayne, thank you for joining us, brother. It's been great to finally get you on. You give us a handshake. connected once for all. So Wayne is an Ayurvedic clinician. He's a naturopath. He's had a whole range of experience in and around wellness and healthcare. And he's going to tell us a lot more about exactly where he's learned all of his skills and what he does specifically. But I'm excited to have you here and to just pick your brain. Yeah, absolutely. So share for us and elaborate on where you're from and what sort of, where we are right now, actually, your business, and what got you here as well.
Okay, so we're based on the Sunshine Coast in Noosa, and Yukti has been open for the last 4.5 years now. So we specialise primarily in Ayurvedic consultation. We deal with stress management and vitality. We also deal with digestive health issues, and we focus on hormonal health. And we also have a full range of Ayurvedic products which we manufacture here on site. And these formulas are based on the past 18 years of my clinical experience and practice. They're also based on 3,000 to 5,000 year old Ayurvedic traditions. Basically, what we wanted to do was to develop a range of Ayurvedic medicines that were made here in Australia using sustainable organic products. And one thing that I'm passionate about is working with plant medicines, using plants and getting involved in manufacturing, combining, mixing, and using them in clinical application. We also make our own range of teas that are all based on Ayurvedic principles. We have a Ayurvedic Panchakarma facility here, so we specialise in traditional Ayurvedic treatments. We do a whole range of different cellular detox programs to eliminate impurities and basically get humans functioning at their optimum.
Perfect.
That's our main focus. Yeah. We like seeing people get well.
Yeah.
And we understand the complexity of what that involves in terms of developing programs that are suitable and using herbal supports, but also nutritional supports. Cleansing programs, but we also understand the role and the complexity of mind and the environment that we're living in these days, the levels of stress, how those stress levels are impacting on our physiology, how they're impacting on our endocrine system, our digestive system, and also looking at our environments in terms of creating communities and environments that support human well-being and human health.
Yeah.
So, we do a lot, but it's our approach is simple.
Mm-hmm.
We try and create good foundations of clinical practice using all of those different types of systems that we implement.
So there's a lot there, and there's you say you keep it simple. You
Yeah,
have to get
that's what our
complex in
simple
order to
looks like.
simplify it. Yeah. And there's so many things in there. Like I've been, I guess, exposed to a little bit of this information and these modalities and practices, not very much at all.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of people that even Ayurvedic medicine wouldn't have even heard the term. So can you start at the basics and share, just in a nutshell, what Ayurveda is and what that means to be practicing Ayurvedic medicine?
Yeah. So the basic sort of like foundations of Ayurvedic practice is what I mean. It does sound like we do a lot of different things and we have a lot of different angles and aspects to the services that we provide here.
Yeah.
But we basically, because we're using these Ayurvedic principles, all of these systems and all of these different areas of practice have fundamental principles that link and interconnect all of these different areas. So, for example, if we're developing herbal formulas, we're using principles that are inherent in nature.
Mm-hmm.
If we're applying nutritional programs, we're using those same principles that are inherent in nature.
Yeah.
So we're applying them, whether they're through physical therapies, whether they're through using yoga philosophy and concepts to support good, healthy cognitive function or emotional health.
Mm-hmm.
So the approach based on the foundations of Ayurveda is we simply implement this system and we infuse it into every different aspect. So one of the translation of yukti is actually it's at the base of Ayurvedic principles. So yukti actually translates as the combination of using inference, perception, using right knowledge, and applying reasoning to establish the understanding or the right knowledge of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So Ayurvedic system of healthcare basically came around. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
But one of the unique things about this system is that it's not considered as a man-made system of health.
So Deepak Chopra didn't invent it.
He did not.
Yeah.
No, but he.
I thought that for a while when I first.
He had some good teachers that enabled him to understand the principles, so he could then interweave it through his. I think he was an endocrinologist.
Okay.
So he was able to look at his field of expertise from an endocrinological perspective, and then obviously he understood the importance and the value of mind, thoughts, perception, attitudes, belief systems, and how they impact on our health and well-being. So Ayurveda is a system that's observed. It's an observable collection of understanding how we balance ecology with biology. So essentially, from an Ayurvedic practitioner perspective, all we're wanting to do is find this nice, harmonious balance between introducing our ecology and living within our ecology in balance and harmony, and harmonizing that with our biology. So essentially, all we're doing is we want to build good, healthy tissues. We want to have good, healthy mental faculties. We want to have good, timely elimination. We want to be turning food into good, healthy tissues.
I love how medical people in the system have their beautiful ways of talking about poop.
Yeah, well, poop's so important.
It is.
It's like it's from an Ayurvedic perspective. It's the byproduct, or it tells us how well we're actually separating absorbable nutrients and waste products. So this is key as a digestive function. So we want to make sure that what we are absorbing into our system is primarily focused on building, repairing, and supporting tissue health.
Yeah.
So anything that is not tissue building, we want to make sure that it's moving timely into the large bowel and eliminating. So we can observe what that looks like by looking at poo. And if anybody's studied Ayurvedic medicine as a student, all you seem to do is talk about poo. And if you have a good poo, it's going to be the first thing you discuss in the morning. It's like,
I did a good poo.
It's great, floated, felt satisfying.
Yeah.
But a good poo and a good sleep is like gold.
Let's let's focus on each other, I reckon, on here. Just keep looking at the side of my face. Yeah, I don't like my profile. But also, if you look at me there, I look at you there, it's like we're still talking to each other, but it introduces the people that are watching as well.
Sure.
And also a segue from the poo. But it's what I'm sort of going with my simple mind and trying to piece it together as well is it's basically balancing the outside world with what's going on within you and really having that working harmoniously together to give yourself the best chance at just flourishing in your environment outside you and inside you.
Yeah.
Is that about it?
Yeah, well, life's about balance.
Yeah.
It's about finding harmony, and it's finding that rhythm or that flow state. And you can only really achieve that through having good resonance physiologically, but also psychologically as well.
Yeah.
Your thoughts determine the quality of your hormonal profile.
Yeah.
That hormonal profile is going to start influencing your tissue production and essentially how you feel. Feeling is very much a hormonal phenomenon. We think that when we start creating hormonal profiles through our endocrine glands, we start feeling the effect of those thoughts, and they start influencing our physiology.
So there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the relationship between thoughts and feelings. Like, do I feel something because I think it, or do I think something after I've felt it, or is it always one way or the other, or is it just that the feelings come about by these endocrine systems, then thoughts brought out from that? Or
I think from an Ayurvedic perspective, it's everything. It's both, and they're all happening simultaneously. So, for example, if you're you eat something that doesn't agree with you, it's not digesting well, it's causing bloating, distension, maybe sort of affecting your commensal flora or influencing your gut flora in a negative way, which is then going to impact on your vagus axis, which is then going to have this feedback mechanism, which is going to influence, your thoughts through discomfort, and then that process is actually going to have an effect where your feelings are actually coming from your gut.
Yeah.
And in other, circumstances, we might be in certain environments where we might have a negative association, and that might, affect our recall. We might register that there's a past situation that we're not aware of or we're not thinking about, but in some way we're picking up on that.
Yeah.
That starts giving us that feeling that something's not right. So, I think from using Ayurvedic anatomy and physiology to sort of explain what might be happening is that the body is the mind and the mind is the body.
Yeah.
They're interacting simultaneously, and all of this information is integrating physiologically and psychologically all at the same time. I mean, consciousness is a non-local phenomenon. We can't measure where that comes from. We don't know. We don't have a point where we can isolate it in human physiology. We can see, using MRIs where certain memories and different cognitive processes are functioning and firing in the brain, but these processes are physiological. There's certain emotions that will affect me physically.
Yeah.
If I feel nervous, I'm going to feel it primarily in my belly.
Yeah.
It's going to be something that I might be feeling in my hands because they're shaky. It's a whole body process. It doesn't feel like it's just isolated to one particular area.
And that's what we get. That's what I get, and I'm sure a lot of people got brought up. Like, when you think in the mind. When you feel something either in your gut or your heart, or unless it's a physical sensation of the body. But that's primarily where they come from. But it's so much more integrated and dynamic than that, and holistic. What is intuition from an Ayurvedic perspective?
I'm not too sure how to answer that. I think that's more of from an Ayurvedic perspective,
or from a Wayne perspective.
From intuition. Intuition I think it is part of yukti. I think it's part of how you deal with your perception and your inference and your reasoning and your memory recall, and how all of those different faculties come together to give you the sum total of what how you perceive or how you understand a certain situation. Um, there
And the
was
response mechanism to that.
Yeah, and intuition is not always correct. I mean, from my own experience, it's like I feel an intuitive feeling what to do or to do something, and I find that was just the worst thing I could have done. Like it's personally, I'm still trying to understand how to actually listen to my intuition in a way that I can trust it, in a way that I can discern that it's not coming from a fear-based belief system that is somehow overriding and saying don't do that or do that as a way of escape.
Ultra survival mechanism.
Or avoiding something that is just uncomfortable. So, intuition. I don't think we can explain that from like an anatomical perspective. I think that's just phenomena that arises through the combination of different mental faculties that are all responsible for us navigating our way through this life on this giant rock flying through space.
Experience of it. I love it.
Yeah. So and I think it's very personal intuition, because your idea of intuition might be completely different to mine. How do we even know that what we're discussing is the same thing? We have different ideas. So,
Doing some deconstruction work there.
It might take a few hours.
So let's hone in on the specifics of what the title was for a moment as well, like the imbalance. And because for me, when I hear about imbalance, I remember a time when I was really, my actions and my inner voice was completely disaligned. Like I knew that I needed to do one thing to live a healthy, wealthy, happy life, and I saw myself doing something completely opposite. So there was just complete imbalance in my life, in my mindset, in my body, in my health, and it wasn't like I hadn't practiced Ayurveda or yoga systems, but it was definitely going down the road of healthy living, consciously evolving, recognizing my own vibration and how I can raise that. But people that are coming to see you that are out of alignment with, if you want to speak about something specifically or generally on it, like what is the process and how can Ayurveda and yoga really help people find the alignment within their life?
Okay. Well, I think regardless of what, excuse me, lunch. I shouldn't do this after lunch. Not straight after lunch anyway.
Just let me know you have a good stool later. We'll both be happy.
Well, we won't do it in the morning either. So I think if we look at the common ground between all conditions, I think we can sort of understand certain principles that are used in Ayurvedic practice in terms of looking at imbalance and identifying what it looks like. Is, how do I say it? There's specific origins of disease in Ayurveda. So if we kind of peel everything back, we're all pretty much suffering from the same thing. So in Ayurvedic concepts or classical Ayurvedic teachings, they say that there's three causes of disease.
Okay.
So the first one is kala or paranam, which translates as time. So the effects of time is, we're all susceptible to the aging process. We're all susceptible to degeneration. Our physiological bodies are finite, and eventually they will turn back into dust, and we'll move on to wherever that is.
Can't wait for that.
You'll feel a lot lighter.
Yeah.
For sure. And the second one is known as a Satmya Indriyata Yoga, which means
Satmya Indriyata.
A Satmya Indriyata Yoga, which means improper contact with the sense organs, which is hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, tasting, and the objects of perception. So, for example, and we're all guilty of this. I've been spending a lot of hours on the computer lately. So this is improper contact or use of my sense organs in relation to organs of perception. So if I'm sitting in front of a computer for hours and hours on end, I'm going to start creating that kind of hormonal chemical imbalance. So for example, if I'm on the computer, my eyes might start getting dry, I might start getting a headache, or if I'm on the computer at night, I'm going to start disrupting that melatonin release, which is then going to disturb all of these health-promoting anti-inflammatory chemicals that are going to be resting and repairing and rejuvenating my system and reprogramming all the plaque that's built up in my brain during the day. So this sets off triggers which then have a cascade of physiological processes that lead to imbalance.
Okay.
So and this is something that we do see a lot of, and questions where I'm asking questions clinically. It's like, well, are you using any electrical devices before you go to bed? Are you on social media before you go to sleep? Are you using different apps that might reduce the blue light in your phone so you're not disrupting these chemical pathways? So that can have a disruption through all of the different primary sense organs that we have. So depending on, so that is wrong use of organs of perception, but that's divided into three different areas. So you have wrong use, you have excessive use, and you have non-use.
Okay.
So that's imbalance can come through those sense organs in three different ways. So I might be doing too much of the computer work, or I might be doing, the quality of what I'm resting my sense organs on might be of a quality that might be generating more anxiety. So if I'm watching horror movies all the time, I'm going to be producing more adrenaline, and if I'm doing it on a regular basis, I might move that into like a phase 2 fight or flight response where I just have this long chronic production of cortisol in my system. So that's the wrong use of those sense organs.
So don't binge watch American Horror Story.
Yeah, exactly. Like divide it up into small groups so you can properly digest it and assimilate it in a way, if that's what you're into. Because one thing that is that I get really clear in Ayurvedic classical texts, is that there's nothing saying that you should or you shouldn't do this. So the basic definition of Ayurveda is it's the science that that explains what promotes happiness and what destroys it, what creates bliss or health and what creates suffering. So that's up to the individual. We come into this world and we're able to decide what sort of lives we want to create through our thoughts and our actions. So Ayurvedic science or Ayurvedic philosophy is just showing you what is going to make you sick, what is going to get you well. And, it just happens that feeling good or being healthy feels good. It creates a sense of joy. It creates a good hormonal profile that is uplifting, that gives you enthusiasm and encourages you to participate in communities and environments in a healthy, constructive way. So it's a good thing, but you don't actually have to do it.
So, and what was the third thing?
Just finishing off the second one. So, if you want to watch, Game of Thrones or what was that one you said?
American Horror Story.
American Horror Story. That's fine. You can do that, but do it in a way where you're not creating a cascade of disease or imbalance promoting factors within your physiology.
That's a big mouthful. How does someone know that when they're just sitting down to watch the show?
All right. So, there's a few different. What I can do is we'll go through the three, and then we can look at the 6 stages of disease, and we can start to get an idea and recognise where we might be sitting on that 6-stage process. So, and non-use. So this is not using our sense organs at all. So, if our sense organs are similar to children. If you neglect them, they start to deteriorate. They don't thrive. They don't do well. So if you're not using your eyes and stimulating it, they're probably going to be dysfunctional in a way. If you're not listening, or not hearing, or if you're not taking in these senses, well, then you're not going to get the stimulation that's coming through those particular pathways that keep them healthy and well, because a little bit of stress is good. Humans do well on stress, but healthy stress. So coming to the third one, this one is considered as prajnaparat, which translates as the misuse of intelligence.
Okay, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, so this is considered as the primary cause of disease. Okay. So out of the three, improper relationship with time, improper relationship with objects and sense organs, misuse of intelligence is considered as the primary driver for all disease issues. Okay. And I mean, I've been in a situation where it's been a stinking hot day and I've seen that can of Coke, and I know that it's not good for me. I know that it's not going to be of benefit, but I'm going to get this really nice, sugar rush, caffeine rush. It's icy cold. Mm-hmm. It's like on a hot day. It's like, I don't endorse drinking Coca-Cola, but there are certain times where it's just,
too good to say
really well. But so I know that that's not going to be beneficial for me. But if I turn that into something that becomes, where I become a slave to it, where I become, dependent on that stimulus to feel a certain way, well then, initially I'm disempowered, but that's going to start influencing my metabolism. It's going to start influencing my glucose regulation. It's going to start affecting my pancreas. All of these different things. I might start accumulating fat tissue, which is unnecessary. And
can you give me a list of different types of misuse of intelligence?
I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah.
It could be anything. It could be anything from...
maybe some of the major ones that you see on a regular basis?
Yeah, I see people getting dependent on things that make them feel good for a short period of time that don't really have substance and they're not really contributing to long-term health.
Yeah.
Alcohol, tobacco, whatever that is for that individual.
Yeah.
But I think we all can recognise the things that we do that aren't good for us. Like for me, for example, at the moment, because of there's projects that I'm trying to get through, and I'll get to 12 o'clock, and I know that having regular meals is really good for my digestive health, but I might just put that off, and then all of a sudden it's 2 o'clock and I haven't eaten. Okay. And I might eat at say 2:30.
Yeah.
And I've missed that window, so my food doesn't digest that well. Yeah. So I get to 4 o'clock and I can still feel there's food sitting in my stomach. And then, and then I might go and do some training, but I haven't properly digested my food, so all my blood starts to move into my muscle tissue and away from my digestive organs. So this food's not getting proper attention. So then I'm getting these partially undigested, food substances that aren't going to separate into a good, healthy, good poo in the morning, and it's not going to, it's not going to translate into good, healthy tissue. Yeah. So they can be little things like that, or they can be big things. They can be learnt behaviours that, or dysfunctional relationship dynamics where you just know that you're carrying on like a dick, but there's for some reason you're on this autopilot and you can't. You have some trouble changing that, and you've got to rewire and create different pathways and dissolve that dysfunctional habit, because it's essentially it's a misuse of our intelligence.
It's just doing stuff that is not good for you, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Going to bed at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Eating like a chocolate croissant, before you go to bed. Yeah. It's easy to do. Like this is the thing. Like this is why it's such an easy way for us.
And that's the most common one you see out of the three. The misuse of senses and faculties. Was it misuse of time or?
It's the effects of time and the misuse of time, but it also within that category we also have like seasonal environmental effects like epidemics, excessive seasons, and
so is that where the misuse of time comes in? Like not really acting accordingly when it comes to the seasons and the times of the day. And
it can relate to that as well. So there's certain foods that are just going to be more beneficial in summer. I mean, we don't we don't generally go for, like bone broths and soups and stews and heavy hearty, like Russian grandma style cooking at that time of year. Whereas in the middle of winter, that's really appropriate. So we have to pay attention to, season, climate changes, geographical location, and also our ages, because our nutritional requirements will vary depending on whether we're adolescent, going through puberty, whether we're in our early 20s and still going through those, our bodies are still developing, our brains are still developing up until about age of about 25.
Yeah.
And so Ayurveda divides age into kind of 4 different sections.
Okay.
So we have like a time where there's more development, tissue development and formation of tissue between, the gestational period up until sort of mid-20s, the brain's still developing, and bone density, all that kind of stuff. And then we go through this middle age where our focus changes. We're generally more driven. We're more in providing roles, or we're actively participating in our communities. And then we go into the later stages of life where we become more degenerative. We start losing elastin, bone density, bodies start to dry up.
Sounds like a great time.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But the thing is, it's like it's what you it's how you live up until that stage, which will determine the quality of that.
Yeah.
So like it's a misuse of intelligence to go, I'm just going to push myself, work my ass off, and grind until I get to 65 because I'm going to retire and have a great time, and then all of a sudden you're done and dusted, and your body's packed it in, and you haven't preserved or supported your health and well-being for all that time. So there's different different stages that relate to time, and also your focus changes as well. Your values change. What's important changes.
It's pretty cool to be able to boil everything down to those 3 key areas, and I'd imagine just by having a quick conversation with someone, you'd really quickly be able to hone in on where there's opportunities for them to really start improving that balance within their life and to start adjusting. And I'd imagine it wouldn't take many adjustments and only slight tweaks of their habits and their patterns to really have a major effect on what's going on with people.
Yeah, it depends on how far down the rabbit hole they've gotten themselves.
Yeah.
So, looking at Ayurveda has this beautiful way of looking at the evolution of disease, and we only recognise the last 2 stages of disease in Western medicine, which is when you can clearly diagnose a condition, and then the complications of whatever comes as that diagnosis becomes worse. So these are the 2 areas that we're dealing with in Western medicine, whereas Ayurvedic medicine has 6 stages. So we have 4 stages of disease that we can recognise before we even get to that stage where something is actually clearly manifested. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So what we'll be doing in a clinical setting is we're going to be gauging where the individual sits on that disease process, and the focus through so there's 2 different ways of looking at Ayurveda. You've got Ayurvedic health, and then you've got Ayurvedic medicine. So medicine deals with reversing the disease process, and then you've got this branch called Svasthavrita, which means health promotion.
Yeah.
So we're not getting people just to this neutral state of health. We want to get them vibrant, healthy, and well, and not just physically well, but mentally well, mentally engaged and happy. Like one of the definitions of health in Ayurveda is one whose mind, senses, and soul is full of bliss.
Oh, beautiful.
That's that's kind of like the end of the sutra or the quote or the definition of health. So it's not just absence of disease. It's thriving. It's humans actually reaching their own personal potential, and that varies. Like what my purpose is different to yours, and what my values are different to yours. So and we have to explore that. But and the second part of that sutra is that health is the foundation to the goals of life. So we need to be well, we need to be healthy, and always moving to that point, because we, when we're in, like your state of health in present time, and my state of health in present time might be different. But we're not aware of how much healthier or how much unhealthier we can be, because we're only aware of where we are now. So we have to actively participate in getting better, so we can then go, oh, so this is how I felt. This is how I feel now. I thought I felt good last week, but there's actually another layer. There's another level to this. And this is where Svasthya comes in, because we want to maximize those levels. So we want to have really healthy sense organs that are clear and crisp. We want to have clear cognitive function. We want to have good physiological functions and have a good poo in the morning. All of these things contribute to good health and well-being. But coming back to the 6 stages.
So just actually quickly on that as well, I love that you bring that up, because that's a part of what's inspired me to do the work that I do, and to even just connect with people like yourself, is self-actualizing. And Abraham Maslow, is one of his books, he speaks on this in quite some length. But yeah, he was really passionate about the whole notion that medicine and Western medicine is all about getting people out of a disease state, when it's actually a core human need of ours to self-actualize and reach our full potential. And if we're not waking up in the morning full of vibrancy, in that bliss state, purposeful, passionate, healthy, then essentially we're not running at our optimal, and there's room to improve there. So I love finding those synchronicities and those alignments with what I've sort of latched onto, and the things that have resonated with me, and understanding why I'm drawn to different people in different places, and recognizing those alignments. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's part of the journey as well. Being curious and seeing what's possible. And moving towards a state that is more freeing and more liberating. I don't want to jump into another topic, but I mean, I think it's relevant. There's a sutra in Vedic culture that's it's in Sanskrit. It's Dharmata Karma Mokshanam Arogyam Uttamam, which means your
so
life.
5 times really fast.
You
did well doing it once.
So what that translates as is that your life path and your purpose is your first goal, and that is unique to the individual. And that is part of the process of discovery and introspection, learning more about themselves and learning more about who they are and what they're here for. I mean, our primary goal is just to be, I think.
Yes.
Just to be alive.
Hence the Daily B show.
Yeah, just to be on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But, I think for humans that's not always enough, because there's room for exploration. There's room to be curious and to find out,
the first thing is, how do I be? That's the first thing comes up. All right, I'll be. How?
How do you do that?
The curiosity comes.
And how do you not overthink that?
Yeah.
And end up in like just a complete mind fuck, because you don't even know what that, even just trying to figure that out. Like, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're not being anything.
Yeah.
You're just doing a big mess in your mind, and you're lost. So that's really important, and and doing whatever that purpose is, because what I do is going to be valuable for, even if it's for one other person, is going to be value in it. If I do that without trying to do somebody else's, or think that I have to be like somebody else, or reach the same goals as some other person, the same for you. It's like whatever you do is going to be there's going to be value in that. And in Vedic times, from what I understand, is that people moved into their dharma or their purpose through their own curiosity. So that if they wanted to study medicine, there was an opportunity for that. It wasn't a set caste system. So everybody was theoretically contributing in ways that they actually felt that they were aligning with their inner purpose. So the second one is artha. So that is to become wealthy. So to become financially wealthy, to support your children, to be wealthy mentally, emotionally, physically,
I
spiritually,
love
all those sorts
the
of
Think
things.
and Grow Rich book, and I refer back to that so often because the 12 Pillars of Riches is all about these different areas of wealth, be it health, open mind on all topics, all these different things, and economic wealth and financial wealth is the very last one. It's still there, but essentially it's all these other 12 pillars of wealth, of riches.
Yeah.
And I love that word rich, and I think it's got such a dirty connotation with so many people, but it's actually such an amazing word. And again, I love that. That's the next thing you bring up.
I think maybe it's become a dirty word because of the way that the systems have been structured to support certain
Misuse of intelligence.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a dysfunction. It's a mental health issue. It's greed.
Yeah.
Greed's just as dysfunctional as any other mental health issue.
Absolutely.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's it's destroying the planet.
And I find it more common among the people that are in spaces of lack and scarcity, more so than people in abundance that have it and grow it. Yet it's the people that have it that are depicted as the greedy ones, but it's the people that are in that space of scarcity that are so latched on to the notion of holding on to what they got and not sharing and not giving. There's actually more greed in that space.
Yeah, well, it taps into our survival. I mean, we need money to eat. We need, like this is a basic energy system that we need to fulfill our basic needs.
Yeah.
And it creates a lot of anxiety. I mean, this is a huge driver of this stress epidemic.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of problems. People don't have enough money to, fulfill the basics. Well, then that's a constant pressure that they have to deal with.
So can we talk about that for a bit? Because I think that is pretty common and a question that a lot of people don't have answers to. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I don't know if I have an answer to it.
But you've got, I'm sure you've got some thoughts on it though. Because, there's people that are freaking out and stressing out, and I see it all the time. I've gone through my own journey, as we all have, around money, but I find that because of the work that I've done as well, I'm able to be, and so whatever does arise, it's not met with anxiety or depression or fear anymore, or fear of not being able to survive or whatever might be coming up or what used to come up. I'm able to flow with it now, which is a beautiful thing to be. But that takes a lot of work to get to where I am, and I recognise that. But for someone that came in that you recognised was struggling with their stress levels and their imbalance, and you recognise it was largely to do with the fact that they weren't in that wealthy, healthy space when it came to their finances, how would you approach that?
That's a good question. It depends on the specifics of the individual. It depends on their unique relationship with probably not just money, but all things and how they perceive the world. I mean, if you're in a state of lack, you're generally going to see that everywhere. And maybe perhaps through seeing that everywhere, you're going to create more of it. So I think that's... there's a... keep track of the time.
That's hilarious. just get a 10-minute warning. All right, cool.
Yeah, I think it's if we look at money as another energy system and an external something that we need to develop healthy external relationships with, it comes down to our attitudes. It's possibly not that much different to having a healthy relationship, whether you're in a marriage, whether you or a relationship with your own body. Some people might be having issues of lack where it's a monetary issue, or it might be a physiological thing. It might be about their relationship with their appearance, or not being good enough, or not having enough of a certain skill type, or not fitting in. It's all about the relationship that you have with yourself. Essentially, I think it all comes down to your relationship with yourself. At the end of the day, it's the most intimate relationship that you'll ever have from start to finish. And that's
how many people's bums are going to wipe up those stools?
Yeah, exactly. But that's I think it all comes down to your relationship with yourself, and then it'll reflect through other areas of your life. But the thing is, I mean, we're not all born in the same situations and circumstances. We're not all having the same opportunities. Some people just by default have an easier situation than others.
Yeah, the biological lottery is.
Yeah, genetically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing is, genetic predispositions are really an important part of Ayurvedic health, because we're treating the patient based on their genetic predisposition. We're treating them based on their present state, which is determining what genes are switching on, which ones are switching off, and how that's presented physiologically. So I think developing a good self-relationship.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's what I love about yoga, because yoga is not a religious system. It's a system that enables you to be able to get really still, and to understand what's you and what's mind, or what's physiology.
And that takes back to where it all started with that chat as well, is the understanding of the holistic view of the external world and the internal world actually being completely interrelated. And yoga is a part of that practice that really helps give us the experiential understanding of what that is like, and how to incorporate that.
Yeah, so yoga is really deeply embedded in Ayurvedic philosophy. So there's 6 philosophies that are recognised as foundations for Ayurvedic practice. And there's 3 that explain how the universe works, how to reason, how to establish truth, how to pull things apart. Basically, how to be a researcher completely unbiased and understand things for how they are. And then there's 3 philosophies that guide you in how to actually live within that framework. So yoga is one of those systems that show you how to live well. Like, okay, we're here, we're on a rock, we're flying through space.
So fast.
Nobody really knows what they're doing. Nobody knows where they came from. Nobody knows why. But yoga is a system that helps to just ground you in a way that your moral conduct is conducive to your inner state as well as your outer state. So the other 2 is Vedanta, which is also understanding how to live well, how to connect with yourself. And then there's Mimamsa, which is kind of commonly known as Buddhism these days. So I know we're going to wrap up soon, but I'll come back to those 4 goals of life. And so Artha is wealth on all different levels. And karma is not like karma as cause and effect, but it's spelled K-A-M-A. That translates as your desire or the things that you're interested in. Okay. So that can be it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're becoming wealthy doing what it is, or it's your life purpose. It could be watching David Attenborough on Saturday night. It's just bloody interesting.
Does it nourish your soul?
There's that part of you that's curious about life, things, whatever that is for you. And then the 4th one is called moksha, which translates as liberation or freedom. So that's where you eventually get to a state where you peel all the gutter back, all of the fears, all the anxieties, all the crap that gets in the way, that sticks to you from all the traumas that you have in life. And then you're able to actually see and have a clear relationship with whatever it is that is in you, whatever is in me, that is just witnessing whatever this is. So I think on a daily basis, moksha is just overcoming your fears, going beyond your boundaries. If you have a fear of flying, you get on a plane, you get to the other side, and all of a sudden your world is just opened up. Whereas if you're not moving towards moksha, you're limiting your capacity to be able to have new experiences, because you're succumbing to your fears, which is tied into Prajnaparad, which is the misuse of intelligence.
So speaking on that, one thing we didn't get to was chatting about our experiences doing the videos and doing lives.
Yes.
But,
This is moksha. This is going beyond
Yeah.
fears and being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been so bad.
No, not at all. But what I want to put to you, especially while we're live as well, is see if you would join us on the 30-day Go Live Challenge.
What's that?
So it's a group that I've set up, and I just started again a couple of days ago. So basically, every day for 30 days, we do a Go Live video, and you just have a little chat to it, and you share what's going on, and it basically just gets you into, out of your comfort zone, into that space of consistent action, but also it just ticks so many of the boxes, and what you get out of it is so much more than just doing a video every day. But yeah, it's a space I created specifically for that, to help people in that space to just hold that space for them, in people that in a group of people that are going to be there, support you, and just basically be doing the same stuff. So I'll put that to you, and
let me think about it.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a little bit more about it later.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I told you, but the Daily B Show, it stands for believing in yourself, or belief, express yourself authentically and evolving consciously. But it actually, the reason I liked it was because of just being, and that question of how to be. So here to help people grow their greatness, and doing it with yourself here with your Ayurvedic practice. So if you guys are in the Sunshine Coast, come down and catch up with Wayne. I think what I've got out of this as well is recognize like what you believe and why you believe it, and just be really curious about that, and then be open about expressing yourself in your own authentic way. Follow your passions, follow your heart. Recognize the way you're doing it, whether it's resourceful, unresourceful, or supportive for yourself, or if it's detrimental, and just continuously asking those questions and learning and evolving. I think Ayurvedic's a great practice I want to learn more about. I continue to just get reintroduced along the way. So
we do run courses. We run a 7-week Ayurvedic Art of Living course, which basically covers everything from foundations of Ayurveda to understanding your body type, living with the seasons, daily routines, nutrition, cooking. We do a module on Ayurvedic, introduction to Ayurvedic pharmacy. We do a whole afternoon on kitchen remedies, and it's pretty comprehensive. But we cover all of this stuff, stages of disease, and it's very practical.
Do you have a link to somewhere where people can register or to check it out?
We haven't got any dates set for that at the moment. What we do have is we have a spring cleanse coming up on the 26th of October. So basically what we do is we run a workshop between 10 till 3 on a Saturday, and then from the Monday on we do a 10-day cleanse, which we link everyone into a closed group Facebook page. During the workshop, you put together your own cleansing program, so it's all very specific and unique. So you can choose herbs, you can choose different daily routines, your foods, all that kind of stuff, so to suit your body type. We're running that. We run Ayurvedic stress management programs that include pranayama and breathing techniques and everything that just helps you when you're under the pump and having a hard time. So
cool, awesome, I love it. Well, I've got your social media links and your website in the bio as well. So jump through, connect with Wayne, and reach out if you want to learn more, which I'm sure you do if you're anything like me. But thank you for joining us.
Thanks for coming.
No worries.
Pleasure to have you.
See you guys soon. See you guys soon. And keep it real.